I am history. Today is not just remarkable, it's monumental. More than that, it's miraculous because I'm here to tell you why. Let me preface by sharing one of my favorite conversations from the movie The Notebook. Near the beginning of the movie, James Garner, who plays Noah Calhoun, is standing in a line with other residents waiting for their meds. He sees his friend Harry, and their conversation, though quick, goes something like this. How's it hanging, Harry? I keep trying to die, but they won't let me. Well, you can't have everything. Me, this is seriously has become my life. Hit after hit, year after year, and I'm still here. It's amazing that I'm here to share any of this. I'm living proof that everything I spent my life running from, facing, trying to overcome, and recovering from, in what seems like a lifetime of endless seasons, actually all have a purpose. And none of it, no matter how excruciating or detestable, have been in vain. Seasons filled with shattered pieces of my broken heart were once strewn across the landscape of my life. These are the pieces of the puzzle that looked nothing like me until Jesus took those pieces and put them back together again. One piece at a time, the shards of pain, loss, bitterness, disappointment, control, and inescapable dysfunction that once held me like a prisoner inside my own life, burying me deep below my heart's smoldering rubble, covering me in muddy distortions, chained to the same guilt, shame, and fear that ruled me for most of my life. I'm witness to the love of Jesus, and that changes absolutely everything. When others judged and discarded me, he wrapped his arms around me and held me close as he does now. I've witnessed every mess that I've ever made being made into his message, his masterpiece. Right now for me is history. My present is a gift from my Creator, my Heavenly Father, and my gift to him is my story, for I am his story. My story, which looks more like mystery, is filled with shattered pieces of my life's puzzle that looked nothing like me until Jesus put the pieces together again, transforming every mess into the Master's mosaic masterpiece. March 14th was a day like most days. There was nothing significant that happened, and I never imagined it could become one of the most memorable days of my life, but it has. I'd spent most of the weekend blasting my favorite songs as I painted my bathroom, but when I opened my playlist on YouTube that morning, nothing clicked for me. Everything felt boring, and that began to annoy me. I was in a good place. At least I thought I was. I was starting a new job. Felt like life was finally beginning to move forward again after everything I had been through up to that point. I was facing the me I had never been. I was learning limits, striving for balance, and unsure how to access everything that I had spent 7 long years pushing away and trying to fit into the little free time I had when I wasn't working. I see now all that I did was justify the exchange of my hopes, dreams, and calling for the money I was making. Beyond my hellish recovery, after being hospitalized in March 2021 with COVID, I didn't know how to get back up or move through the emotional devastation of being so sick and feeling so limited on top of everything. Instead of celebrating 7 years with the agency I had been working for, I had been terminated when I was physically unable to return back to work in the time frame that they needed me to come back by. So healing and becoming well became my full-time work. There were months of iron infusions. I had a blood transfusion. Before that, I had congestive heart failure. I went through physical therapy, constant heart palpitations for over a year. And after my hospitalization, I was barely able to walk to the end of my driveway for months without struggling to breathe. Following that came a hysterectomy just before the end of the year in 2021. And honestly, it was all more than I knew how to bear. Looking back, 2021 at that point was a hell unlike I had ever faced physically. And I was certain that once I was able to move through all of that, there would not be anything I couldn't overcome. I went back to work in 2021 in October, where I spent 59 days working harder than I had ever worked before, driving over 100 miles a day to go to a job that was nothing that I was led to believe it was when I accepted the offer. Still, I remained consistent in the face of abrupt and unexplainable internal sabotage that began on day one, and it didn't stop until day 59 when I was, air quotes, promoted, which is also known as being fired, just 9 days before I was scheduled to have my hysterectomy. I was actually in the best place I had been physically in a really long time. I was excited for the new season that was unfolding. So it was weird when I felt a sudden emotional shift the morning of March 14th, like a heavy blanket of blah trying to wrap itself around me. I'm pretty good at bypassing the feeling of blah with music. Just find the next best playlist and voila, things change, feelings change. But not this time though. The thought of music suddenly felt hollow and not what I needed. But I kept scrolling. And what got my attention was a video by one of my favorite pastors, Mike Todd of Transformation Church in Oklahoma. It was called Here is Holy, Part 1. When it showed up in the middle of my music search, that's when I realized the dull, agonizing ache I was feeling inside was reminding me that I was running almost on empty, and my heart was longing to feel the presence of God.